Alright everybody, so I didn't post anything over Christmas because I've been really kind of working on the car, and I wanted to just go through everything that we've done so far. So we'll take a look inside. So got the interior ripped out. Found couple of infestations of ants, so the car now smells like lavender because that was the flavor. So here's all the carpeting out of there. We also pulled the DME out. I was able to get the hatch open. I actually had to crawl in the back and disconnect them from the locking mechanism in the back, because those were completely rusted in. And by some miracle, the back shocks actually still hold up the window a little bit. So then the next thing I did was I pulled the DME out. Slide down. And so the thing was that the car would not start. It would crank over, but it wouldn't start. Well, I am thinking that that might have had something to do with the fact that nothing would run. So that was the DME that was in the car. So I bought another one online. I used one and went ahead and put it in. And we've been working on getting it started. And actually, we got it to turn over and run with just some starter fluid directly into the intake first. All right. So next, when we pulled out the interior. The reason we did the interior first was I wanted to make sure that the floor pans were not completely rusted out and everything. So, good news is it's not really rusted out. The bad news is this part right there, right where that emergency brake is, that's all rusted out, and you can see I'm going to need to replace the emergency brake. And then also right here, looks like something actually went through the floorboard. Not that it rusted out, because that's pretty clean brakes. So that'll need to be addressed and everything. So I'm going to have to learn how to weld. And then we did some grinding here. So here's a little clip of that. So today, I'm going to work on the rust spot that I was hoping wasn't all the way through, but obviously was. And as you can see, we've kind of started grinding down a little bit, and there's a lot of Bondo on there. So obviously this had been damaged at some point in time before, and they just threw Bondo over it instead of fixing it properly. So we're going to keep grinding this out, and we'll have to weld in a new piece. All right, well. Well, that's right in your face, isn't it? Alright, so we got it ground down. It's bad, but it's not terrible.
It's really kind of just located to this. You can see the seam right here. There's a little bit of pitting. There's a little bit of pitting right here that you can see, but I don't think that needs to be cut out. There's a little hole right there, but I think that we can probably fill that when we weld, and then just weld it down and grind it down. So I think this panel is going to be okay, but you can see the hole, and the reason it got so bad was when there was a hole, all they did was just shove Bondo in it, and they didn't fix the rust problem. So I'll get in there, I'll cut that out, and I'll clean all this stuff up in here, and I'll get some rust converter on that, and hopefully that'll take care of that as well. But at least it's not, you know, rusted all the way down to here. So, and luckily I've got a guy that'll cut it out of his parts car for me for 50 bucks. Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate that. Trevor in Washington. All right. So he started working on the rust on the front fender here on the passenger side. And same thing. They just filled it with, I don't know what that is. There's Bondo and something else.
What it should sound like.
Just to fill the hole. And just not do it correct. I don't even know what that is. I mean, you can see the Bondo. The white stuff is the Bondo. But there's like a rubbery something as well. So not sure what that is. But the whole hole was filled with it. So probably gonna just end up replacing this front fender. So we'll get this out and we'll work on the door here. There's a little bit of rust on the door, but I don't think the rust is that bad on the door. So we'll keep going. Then we found some rust kind of here. Let me grab my light. So a little bit of rust here. So once again, that and that I am going to be able to get from Trevor in Washington. And once again, Trevor, thank you very much. So there was a rust bubble over here. And they actually had filled it with Bondo, but they did not actually get rid of all the rust, I think, when they did it. And then here is the fender area. So I think we're just going to replace the fender. I think that's going to be the new theme of this, is the replacement shop, because things are going to get replaced a lot. So we are in the midst of taking out the fuel lines. We took out the fuel pump and the fuel filter. Unfortunately, I ruined one of the things for the fuel filter, but the great news is, I don't know if you guys can see down in there, but there is no rust in this tank that I can see. I mean, maybe just a little bit. There's no rust. I had to clean that up. That's still kind of damp. See all this right here? So that was one of the ant colonies that I found underneath the flap. So there's no gas in the car, and I'm thinking that there's no gas in the car because that was the fuel line coming from the tank to the pump. As you can see, the rubber is just completely corroded off of it, and you can see the braiding. So then this is the line from the pump to the fuel filter. So this is the banjo bolt that comes off the pump. And then this is the part that I ruined, is this part that needs to go to the fuel filter. So this comes off and then goes to the fuel filter. Well, the problem is it was rusted on the fuel filter so bad that I'm not sure if you can really see that, but trying to get it off completely ruined the nut and actually smashed the tube. So the problem is this, that hose right there is like $170. So what I'm looking for now, and I looked all day, I looked at auto parts stores, I can't find it anywhere here, is that part right there that goes to the fuel filter on the end of the line from the pump. And if anybody knows where I could find one, a used one, whatever, that would be greatly appreciated, because I'd rather not spend $170 to replace the line. So this is just kind of the workshop here. We got all our stuff up there and plenty of PB blaster. There's those darn seats that just wouldn't come out. Got the tires off. Oh, we also, this week, we took off the brake master cylinder. That's going to be replaced, and the master cylinder for the clutch as well came off from right there. Took the brake reservoir out. So then don't really need the light. So here's the brake master cylinder out. Here's the master cylinder for the clutch out. Here is, so fortunately the stuff that was in here was clear, but this, not so much. I cleaned out the funnel part, or the filter part, and the float probe. Got those out and cleaned those. I don't know how I'm going to clean all that junk that's in there, but I'll figure that out, and that's got to be cleaned. But she turned over and she ran. So I'm really, really, really happy about that. We fooled around with the electronics a little bit. Fuel pump, we weren't getting any power to the fuel pump. But what had ended up happening was, there's the connections. It was actually so corroded that you couldn't even get any power readings from the front. So it's just a look on the other side. So, and then I also had these cables, and there were more that went back there, and they just kind of don't go anywhere. There were a couple that came from the battery compartment. Then this one runs over and is plugged into the fuse box that has another fuse within the line. And then this cable goes back. It hooks up here, goes up here, and then is cut right there. See, if I tug on that, you can see that move. So it goes to nowhere. So we kept asking, trying to figure out, well, what the heck is running all the way back to here? And the general consensus is, this is the other end of that wire. It was a cell phone system that was put in the car at some point in time. So, yep. So that's where we are right now with the car. I will keep you updated.